Hi everyone, my name is Becky Wheelock. I'm the Alumni Coordinator at Wasatch Crest. I'm also, oh, now I'm starting. Never mind. Hi everyone, my name is Becky Wheelock and I'm the Alumni Coordinator at Wasatch Crest. I'm also an addict and I'm also a woman that is in long-term recovery from substance abuse. Um, Let me just start off by telling you a little bit. Wasatch Crest is a recovery center in Heber City, Utah. We treat individuals struggling with substance abuse problems, alcoholism, and underlying mental health issues in the Wasatch Crest Mountains. Many of our team members have struggled with addiction and understand what it's like to feel powerless over a substance. So I'm going to share my recovery story with you guys today um, to show that it works, to help others, and that we all have the power to free ourselves from addiction. Um, so let me start off. My clean date, my sober date is October 22nd of 2015. So for me that means that I have not had any mood or mind altering substance in almost 5 years. Um and I apologize ahead of time. I've shared my story numerous times in front of people, but never looking at myself in a camera on the internet. So anyways, I want to start off. I grew up in Utah, in a city called Holiday that's right by Salt Lake City. Um, I had a good family. Still have a good family who I love very much. Um, my parents were loving parents. I always felt loved. I was always taken care of. There was no kind of abuse. There, we had a beautiful home. We went to church on Sundays. You know, um, I had the potential to have an amazing life. When I was 7 years old, I did start having some anxiety and severe panic attacks. And I didn't want to go to school. I didn't want to leave my house. I didn't even want to go across the street to play because I was afraid my parents would leave. And my parents did get divorced when I was 15. I'm not going to go into that because it's not really my story to tell, but they did go through a divorce. They were still loving parents. I have three brothers, so I'm the only girl in my family, which I always actually liked. I'm kind of spoiled that way. And when I was 15 years old, I became pregnant with my first daughter, Kendra, and and I chose to keep her. I had the support of my family. I lived at home with my mom and my three brothers, and everyone, helped and made it possible for me to have provide her with a good life. Um, I always felt like, I well, let me go back a minute. I'm so sorry. So I did start partying a little bit when I was 14. Nothing too crazy. A lot of marijuana drinking. But as soon as I found out that I was pregnant with my daughter, I stopped right then. It wasn't even an option. It wasn't really hard for me. Um, so I never, worried about me being an addict. That never even crossed my mind back then. And then I did have her. I did keep her. Her dad wasn't involved in her life. Her biological dad. I did get married when I was 18 years old. He was a good guy. He adopted my oldest, and we went on to have two more children, Madison and Parker. So at that point, I had three beautiful, amazing children. Um, we had, a good, simple life. We bought our first place when we were like 22 years old. And my ex husband at the time, he went literally from being like a teenager overnight to being a husband and a father, and so it came along with its stresses. We did stay married for over 13 years. Getting married that young, we just grew apart. We weren't the same people. We didn't, once the kids started getting older, there was just no connection there whatsoever. Um, we did get divorced. I was 32 years old, and this is where I've got to say, from the time I got pregnant at 15 till I was 25, I didn't even have a sip of alcohol. I started drinking at 25. My ex-husband's best friend was graduating from college, and it's always kind of a joke that I was the one in the group that would never drink, because I always felt like I needed to have control and be there, be present as a mom. So I did start drinking, and I remember taking that first sip, and just that whole thing came flooding back of just no worries, feeling good. And my ex-husband's best friend passed away at 25 unexpectedly, and that's when I started drinking often. We would have parties at our house on the weekends. I never, at that point, still, I never saw a problem with it. I I wouldn't drink every day, but when I would drink, now that I look back, I was a binge drinker. Once I started, I couldn't stop till I was thrown up. We did smoke marijuana, and my ex-husband, he's not an addict, and so, anyways, we got divorced at 32 years old. And my life just, I couldn't have imagined at that time what the next 4 years were going to look like. I always prided myself in being a good mom. I loved my children with all my heart. They always had awesome holidays. They had awesome birthdays. They were definitely loved. Um, but I did start dating someone who introduced me to cocaine. And at the time, I had never been away from my kids, hardly ever. Maybe on a vacation once was the longest, for like 7 days, and it was hard. It was hard going the weekend with them with their dad. I was lost. I wasn't a wife anymore. I wasn't a mother anymore. I That's all I had ever identified as, because I became a mother at 15, and I just kind of wanted to numb it. And I never imagined that the first time that I did that cocaine, that it would affect my family. But it's definitely a family disease. My life spun out of control. I it was an abusive relationship. I went from that one to another abusive relationship. Um, I began trading. I had been prescribed Xanax at a young age because of my anxiety attacks, but they could sit in my cupboard for a year, and I would never use them. But I began using them all the time. I could go through a bottle of 30 in 5, 6 days. Um, and I wanted to check out. I felt like even though I knew that the divorce was the right thing, I lost, my whole identity. I felt like there was a death. Anyways, I did end up start smoking heroin, and eventually I became an IV heroin user. Um, I had never even known anyone that had gone through that. I started doing that. I started smoking crack. I started also injecting methamphetamine. I had to sell my house, do a short sale on my house, because I wasn't paying the mortgage, and we'd agreed on selling it in the divorce. I ended up moving my kids into an abusive man's house for a couple months, and it was horrible. We had to get out, and we ended up going from living a really good life to living with my three children in a two-bedroom apartment where I didn't even have a bedroom, and you wouldn't know when we'd go home if the power had been paid or the gas had been paid, and we'd have to go spend the night at grandma's. All I can say, I want to talk more about the recovery piece, but I was stealing, I was lying. I'd always been like a fun-loving, happy person, and my soul was just gone. My kids were neglected. I was definitely not the mother that they deserved. I would drive them around high in my car, which is not easy to admit to people. I did a few hit and runs. One of them, my son was in the car with me, and he was probably 11 at the time, and I made him promise not to tell his dad or his sisters that it had happened. It was a mess. I couldn't keep a job, so I'd work for my dad. I was manipulating both my parents to get money whenever I could. I was pawning my children's things, their Wii. I It was horrible. It was a horrible life. And I remember just thinking, how did I get here? And I couldn't even imagine a way of getting out of it. It was just like lie after lie, getting through the next day, figuring out how I was going to get money so I could get my next fix. Waking up just dope sick. I missed a whole Christmas day because I had used all my heroin the night before, and was sick the whole next day. And all I can say is thank goodness, I have the family that I have. I have parents that never gave up on me, brothers that never gave up on me, children that never gave up on me, and if it wasn't for them and for my ex-husband, who took them when I decided to go up to treatment, I don't know how it would have turned out for them. Um, so I am so thankful for that, and I never forget that. And it's not easy coming on here and telling my deepest darkest secrets, but I'm a big believer that if I don't speak up about this and how it can happen to anyone, um, then people die. They die every single day. And it's important for me to show that we do recover, and talk about it. I first entered treatment in April of 2015, up at what was the Pines. It was at the same building. It's now Wasatch Crest. Um, and I wish I could say that's where I stayed sober, but I didn't. I relapsed a few times after that, landed myself in jail. Um, Horrible experience. I can just tell you, I have never been so terrified in my life. Like I knew at that moment I was going to do everything it took. I wasn't going to hurt my kids anymore. I wasn't going to let them down. They didn't want to talk to me. They were heartbroken. I had built up all this hope in them and just took it all away in seconds. Anyways, I did go back to treatment. I got really involved in AA at the time. Um, I worked the 12 steps with my sponsor. Um, I did outpatient for I think 10 months until they're finally like, you have to go. But I just needed that accountability. I needed it. I walked out of those doors with no home, no job, no car. Um, Everything I'd ever worked for was gone. Um, I met a wonderful man in recovery. He will be getting his 6 years October 8th. Our recoveries both look very, very different, but we both work really hard, to keep that sobriety every single day. I now have two stepchildren, beautiful stepchildren. So we've got 5 kids. We purchased our first home together last year. So we've been here a year. I've got 4 dogs, 7 chickens, 2 goats, and I can actually take care of like all this stuff. So it's amazing. I I work in treatment. I'm passionate about it. I've been working in it since I was a year clean. Um, begged and begged to get my job there, and I got it. I now am the alumni coordinator, which is such a perfect spot for me, being that I feel like when people leave treatment, it is so important that they find their tribe, find where they fit in. Um, and I'm hoping I make a difference in their lives. I love all of our clients so much. Unfortunately, I've lost a lot of dear friends, clients, working in this field, and I do have to say, hearing a mother's cry after they have just lost their child to an overdose is something that's in your mind forever, and you'll never ever forget it. Um, I'm hoping that I can make a difference. I look at every client as it's someone's child, it's someone's spouse, it's someone's parent. You know, there's a family out there that loves them and wants them back so badly, and that's why I do this. I hope that I can make a difference in people's lives. Um, Also, I am a member of Narcotics Anonymous currently. I switched over to that meeting when I was about 18 months clean. Um, I have a sponsor. I am really bad at calling her, but I do. Um, and I go to meetings. I still go to meetings. I'm almost 5 years clean, and they're so important for me. And it's been rough. It's been a big change since COVID hit, because a lot of the meetings are online. Everybody's zoomed out. Work is online, but it's so important to at least, I should go more, but at least get my one meeting in a week. Um, yeah, I want to share this so that people know, um, that recovery is possible. I never imagined in a million years that I would have the life that I'm living today. Um, I'm so grateful for my parents and for my children and my husband. He's always rooting me on. Um, Life's really good. Sorry, I say I'm a lot. Anyways, I'm sure I forgot a million things that I wanted to say. But addiction is real, and it's so important that we educate people on it, and be there to help people. I think of all the amazing people that didn't give up on me and fought so hard for me.